This is ABC7 News at 7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
People give to this pack, and that gives to that pack, and that gives to that pack. Because in order to keep track of all the paperwork and all the things you have to do, it's just a nightmare.
The nightmare could become worse for people who run political action committees, or PACs, in Florida. State Representative Joe Gruters is sponsoring legislation to expose where money in those PACs is coming from. Could we see an end to dark money in our political campaigns, or will the measure be stopped by politicians who benefit from anonymous donations? Good evening, I'm Haley Wilgus. Alan is off tonight. More on legislation to reveal dark money donors coming up. But first, our top 7 stories at 7. We begin tonight with the latest on a school bus crash in Sarasota. One student remains in care tonight after more than a dozen people were treated for injuries, some with special needs. It started around 9:15 this morning at the intersection of Proctor and Gant roads. The school bus was transporting a dozen special needs students to Oak Park School when, according to state troopers, a car pulled out in front of the bus. The driver of that car was making a left turn and forced the bus to swerve off the road and into a power pole. A dozen homes and 2 schools in the area temporarily lost power. 16 people were treated on the scene and 11 had to be taken to the hospital. 7 of them were students.
The bus did not catch on fire. However, the trauma that was caused to the front of the bus has caused a gas leak. So the fire department is being proactive. We're putting foam on it, as well as getting all of that fuel off of the roadway, making sure that we do not have anything that could cause an ignition.
This intersection is really bad. The red light gets run a lot during the day. It's situated kind of weird where the turn lane is a left turn lane and a straight lane at the same time. So, people don't pay attention.
The driver of the car is 69-year-old Michael Rands of Indiana. He is being cited for the incident. Meanwhile, one of the students was transferred to All Children's Hospital in St. Pete with serious injuries. We're told the student was in stable condition when he or she arrived, but there's no update on the status at this point. Everyone treated at Sarasota Memorial has now been discharged. Oak Park principal Edwina Oliver says that her faculty stepped up to help all of the students involved.
Because some of the stimuli that was going on at the scene, the sirens, people talking, the responders, all of that was a lot for some of my students who are nonverbal. So they were there just there talking. So once I gave them names, when you speak to a student and you address them by their name, that's confirming to them to know that everything is okay, that someone knows me.
We're continuing to follow this story. You can get the latest updates plus alerts on other breaking news across the Suncoast by downloading the My Suncoast app. The victim of a hit-and-run crash is in critical condition at Sarasota Memorial Hospital tonight. It took place last night, the crash, around 2 a.m. at the intersection of North Pineapple Avenue and 1st Street. Sarasota police are searching for the suspect who fled the scene driving a white Chevy Silverado. Officers say it could have caused damage to the left front quarter panel of that vehicle. Anyone with information is asked to call investigators at 941-364-7370. An update on a skydiving program at Venice Airport 4 months after jumps began there. The city is now putting an end to it, at least with this company. Today, council members are voting to end a contract with Skydive Venice Beach. Last week, we told you about landing problems the business was having, with some jumpers landing in the wrong zones, including one person who ended up at Venice High School. The business owner had asked for a month to fix the problem. Here's what she has to say about the termination of the contract.
Like to remain positive and think that those who have jumped with us here and shared this experience with us in Venice would be supportive in us moving forward and trying to see how we could possibly operate in the future.
Skydive Venice says it has operated more than 200 jumps since December. No customers were injured during any of those jumps. No other safety issues reported. When you think about Venice, you probably imagine the beach, the pier, downtown. You might want to add coyotes to that list. Residents and police are reporting an increasing number of sightings in the area, with the mayor himself taking this photo or some video. I'm not sure. This is actually from the Scoop News, but the police department, maybe this is the picture here. The police department has been monitoring the coyotes for years. That was the correct picture there, but they're apparently entering residential areas more frequently now. In a new information pamphlet, officers recommend keeping pets on a leash, keep your pet food inside, and do not put out your trash early before the trash collection. Florida is under a state of emergency tonight as more than 100 wildfires burn across the state. 23 of those fires have burned more than 100 acres each. Governor Scott announcing the state of emergency at a pre-planned Wildfire Awareness Week event. The order would make it easier for agencies to share firefighting resources. Forestry officials say the upcoming lightning-filled warmer months could make the situation even worse.
Come April, come May, June, and July, lightning is going to hit this state hard, as it always does every year. And the drought really intensifies that, because then you start to see a lot of these fires from the lightning. Our job is to prevent those human-caused fires so that we're prepared for the lightning.
So far this year, there have been more than 1,400 wildfires in Florida, consuming nearly 70,000 acres, double the amount burned at this point last year. Luckily, there are no active fires burning on the Suncoast. A brush fire had been sparked at Potter Park in Sarasota, but is now under control. Firefighters dumped 100 gallons of water using a helicopter, and they're now monitoring hot spots to make sure it does not rekindle. And now for a check on that drier weather, let's head over to Bob.
So yeah, the dry weather's in place. It will stay in place for the next couple of months. Then we'll get into our afternoon thunderstorm pattern, and that usually sparks fires as well as a result of the isolated nature of those storms developing in the first part of the season. You can see from this graphic right here, the dry air indicated by the brownish area there, that's all over the peninsula right now. That dryness will stay with us too. That moisture well to the west will stay to the west. Currently, we have a few clouds around, 76 on the temperature, and winds are out of the west-northwest. They are at 14 miles an hour, so that sea breeze has developed, and the pressure now at 3011. That's holding steady basically as it moves through time, so we're going to see this high-pressure ridge stay with us. We do have a little bit of a sea breeze that has developed. You can see it quite clearly on the radar imagery, the review of it anyway, over the past 4 hours or so. There it is right there. That's the sea breeze coming in. That's the east wind meeting up right there, so a few showers are possible this evening, but they'll be very light in nature, and they'll be not many. There won't be many around, and a high fire danger exists across to the southeast of us as far as a red flag warning is concerned. And for us, the evening planner, well, look for a few isolated showers, very brief sprinkles, if you will. Otherwise, temperatures staying very warm into the upper 60s by 11 o'clock and just a few clouds around. We anticipate a chance for showers tomorrow again, but the rain chance very small at 20% as we move through the afternoon and evening. Winds now out of the west and northwest, anywhere from 15 to 20 miles an hour up and down the coast. You can see that quite clearly, and inland areas in Northport out of the west at 7. We'll have more on our weather forecast coming up in just a few minutes. Haley.
Thank you, Bob. Still to come, whose money is going to political campaigns? Donors often hide their contributions using political action committees, but the source of this dark money could be unveiled if a new bill passes in Florida. We'll explain when we return.
Invest in Kids is a $7.5 million project to build a new Boys and Girls Club in South Manatee County. I'm Caleb Grimes, and I was a club kid. It's where I learned important life lessons, leadership, integrity, responsibility, and baseball. Thousands of kids attend the Boys and Girls Clubs, and after years of use, their club is slowly falling apart. Help us invest in kids. Make your donation today.
Our community has its struggles. The fact is, people have less than they did just a few years ago, and sadly, the need becomes more profound every day. Season of Sharing provides funds to help individuals and families in need, ensuring they will not end up homeless and without a roof over their heads. Together, providing a helping hand and making a difference. Season of Sharing. Give today at cfsarasota.org.
ABC7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you weeknights at 5.
Is your mop a dirty, disgusting mess? You need the Hurricane 360 Spin Mop System, the only mop and bucket that spins the dirt away. A system that cleans practically anything and everything with super absorbent microfiber. Dip it in the washer side and the mess releases into the bucket. Then place it in the dryer side and push on a pedal. You get a clean mop pad that's practically dry and ready for more. And your hands will never again touch a dirty, disgusting mop. The heads are washable and reusable. Get the Hurricane 360 Spin Mop System for just 2 payments of $19.99. You'll also get get a Sticky Buddy, the reusable sticky roller that picks up pet hair and lint and washes clean in seconds. You can take advantage of our 2-for-1 Pick It Up special and get a second spin mop set. Just pay additional shipping and fee. And we'll upgrade you to free priority handling. So don't wait. Order now.
Call 1-800-394-1524 to get your Hurricane Spin Mop double offer. So hurry and call 1-800-394-1524. Call now.
It's become standard practice for politicians to accept money from political action committees during a campaign. Even local races here on the Suncoast are swung by the influx of dark money. Now, one state representative from Sarasota is filing a bill in an attempt to show who is donating to our elected officials. ABC7's Adam Cellini has more on this legislation.
This bill has the potential to undercut those dark money dealings that have taken over state politics, but can it really find enough support among other politicians dependent on those large campaign contributions? In his first ever session, State Representative Joe Gruters is filing a bill that could shake up Tallahassee.
Right now, the system is broken. I think we have a corrupt system here. I think that people could use the system and manipulate it in a way to where you could hide who is contributing to who.
In the final weeks of the Republican primary, Gruters says he was targeted with $100,000 in attack mailers, financed by untraceable dark money laundered through Political Action Committee or PAC funds.
Everybody builds off personal experiences, and nobody likes to get ripped from people that you don't even know about.
Gruters' bill would eliminate the transfer of money from one PAC to another, thus revealing the source of that money.
What it does is it really puts the clamps on the laundering of money.
Political science professor and recent state Senate candidate Frank Alcock calls it a shell game. A large chunk of money is given to one PAC for, say, an attack ad. Then it's moved from PAC to PAC, some with millions of dollars or hundreds of contributors, before it's finally used to purchase those ads.
Tracing that is darn near impossible.
Patricia Gardner has tried. She manages a PAC on behalf of the Sarasota Classified Teachers Association.
It's really a pain to do a PAC. That's why you're seeing all these professionals with multiple PACs, and then people give to this PAC and that gives to that PAC and that gives to that PAC, because in order to keep track of all the paperwork and all the things you have to do, it's just a nightmare.
From here to Tallahassee, local accountant Eric Robinson is widely regarded as the prince of PACs. He is either the chair or treasurer of 32 PACs in Sarasota, according to state records. He declined our interview request, saying he only moves donor money around at the request of campaign managers, but added he supports Gruters' bill. He hopes it can limit dirty politics like the mailers against his former client or a Sarasota school board race Gardner recalls from 2014.
It showed up at the end of the race and went in, supported Bridget Ziegler. And that was the first time I think it ever happened in this town. It woke everybody up to realize this is what the future is, and if you want to compete, you're going to have to get some dark money.
Can this bill change things? Alcock says yes, but it has to pass first.
There will be more powerful legislators that want to keep the status quo than would support this reform. That's speculative. But I do think it'll have a hard time passing.
If it does, it could also become the subject of some constitutional scrutiny.
The Supreme Court in Citizens United and in some other major cases has really called into question any sort of law that limits expenditures, and they've interpreted that to be a constraint on freedom of speech.
Gruters says whatever happens on the floor will not keep him from pursuing other bills like this during his next 8 years in office. Joe Gruters is certainly one of the most qualified people to propose such a bill here in town. He's provided campaign finance reporting services for nearly a decade. In Sarasota, Adam Cellini, ABC7, your Suncoast News.
Thank you, Adam. Can Representative Gruters get the support he needs for his bill? He's standing by in our studio. When we return, we'll speak with him and our political commentator.
Our community has its struggles. The The fact is, people have less than they did just a few years ago, and sadly, the need becomes more profound every day. Season of Sharing provides funds to help individuals and families in need, ensuring they will not end up homeless and without a roof over their heads. Together, providing a helping hand and making a difference. Season of Sharing. Give today at cfsarasota.org.
If you're only hungry for a slice of apple pie, why buy the whole pie? And you certainly wouldn't want to pay for an all-you-can-eat buffet. So if you don't use your cell phone that much, why get charged for a plan that's too big, or even an unlimited plan? Luckily, there's still a wireless company that shares your values. Welcome to Consumer Cellular. Our average customer pays about $25 a month for everything they need. Many pay even less, as plans start at just $10 a month. You'll get a straightforward bill that's easy to understand with no surprises and all the attention you deserve from our friendly customer service team. No wonder Consumer Cellular received a J.D. Power Award for highest customer service. Plus, if you're an AARP member, you'll receive special discounts. It's easy to switch. You can even keep your phone and your number. So stop paying for more than you need and switch now. For a limited time, get your first month of service free. Call 800-457-2317, go online, or visit a Target store today.
I knew I could get myself out of this. I just needed some hope and some help.
I took the first step to recovery when I made the call.
If you're depressed, drinking, and using drugs, you may need help. And the Affordable Care Act guarantees coverage of substance abuse. Call the Addiction, Hope, and Helpline now for a free assessment.
I had problems just getting to sleep, drinking and using pills every night.
I feel like I'm losing control. I'm afraid I'll lose my job or even my family.
Are you losing hope? You can recover and get back on track. Call now for hope and help with proven, gentle recovery programs.
I never thought that I could be somebody who didn't drink and use drugs.
I have something to hold on to for strength. I'm in recovery, getting the help I need.
Call the Addiction, Hope, and Helpline now for a free assessment with someone who cares.
Call 1-800-764-8708. That's 1-800-764-8708.
Welcome back. First off, how likely is it that we will see this bill get signed into law? Florida's legislative session ends on May 5th, meaning there are fewer than 25 days to get a vote in both chambers. So far, the House version has not been voted on in committee. The Senate version has also yet to be voted on. Brevard Senator Debbie Mayfield is sponsoring that bill. The 16-page piece of legislation isn't likely to get to the governor's desk this session, but is there a reason that it's being held up? And could it do any better next session? Joining us for more on this is the sponsor of the House version of this bill, State Representative Joe Gruters of Sarasota, and ABC7 political analyst Frank Alcock. He teaches political science at New College and also ran a campaign for state senate last year. So you all have something in common, is that you dealt with this type of money very recently with your campaigns. So I just want you to talk, we heard a little bit about your story with the attack mailers. Tell us a little bit about both of your experiences with this money in this past campaign season.
Well, as the chairman of the Republican Party of Sarasota, I'm interested in all races. And really what's happened is, certainly my campaign was an eye-opener, because I didn't expect to get hit with, 12 different mailers all in the last 2 weeks, and all negative. And I remember sitting on election day at the polling place, and people coming up and saying, oh, you're against the Second Amendment, you're for Common Core, you're a bad CPA. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, these negative ads really had an impact. And the problem is when you go back and try to trace where the money is coming from, you have no idea. And the problem is that's bad for our community, it's bad for the state. What it is we have a corrupt system that allows this shell game to exist, where you essentially launder the money through the system and nobody knows who is contributing to who. Now, I will tell you that if I take a cup of coffee from you and during my campaign, if I don't report it, I'm going to get fined. But so you're saying that I can't take a cup of coffee, but I get accept $500,000 for or against me? What we have is a broken system, and all I'm trying to do is shine Florida's sunshine on this dark process and trying to make sure that we can clean up the system. I think we can. I think there is momentum to pass it. It may not pass this session. I am only a freshman, but I will tell you that I get 8 years in this process, and I will tell you that I get 6 bills to file every session. I will file this bill every year until I pass it. It's going to happen. I'm one of the few CPAs that's in the House. I've also dealt with a lot of campaign finance as a guy who's reported on behalf of other candidates, and I'm going to make sure that we clean up the system, because right now it's not fair to local candidates who get bombarded with negative ads or positive ads at the end. It's certainly not fair to the state candidates, and really the people deserve to know who is supporting who, and that's what it comes down to.
And Frank, your thoughts on Joe introducing this bill?
Well, for my race, it wasn't a factor. It was, you know, there was a Trump wave, and there was just a large amount of money on the other side, and more if needed. So untraceable money was not an issue. I do think it's a problem, though, in a number of races. We have some interesting laws in the state of Florida. One of the things that makes it problematic is a shell game. It's laundering of money. Even though you can have a donor that publicly makes a donation to a political committee, that committee can then just move it around to a number of committees, and it could get merged in with large numbers of funds. So at the end of the day, speech happens, but there's nobody accountable for that speech. And I think Joe's bill, by blocking transfers between funds, can actually have an impact. And so there's a question of the constitutionality. It probably would be challenged, but I actually think what Joe's doing would be, it passed muster, at least I think it would. And then politically, can he get it through? It might not happen this year, but keep trying, Joe.
Yeah, and I will tell you that, you know, my goal is not to restrict contributions. If you want to spend $1 million to get Frank Alcock elected to the state senate next time, by all means, you should be able to do that. My only thing is you should have to present yourself and let people know who it is that's supporting him or that's opposed to him. And that's what we're trying to do. We're not trying to restrict people's freedom of speech and their ability to spend an unlimited amount of money. What we're just trying to do is we're trying to make sure we shine the light on who's donating to who.
It does not restrict contributions nor expenditures. And so I think when it comes to transfers to further disclosure requirements and transparency, my read of the Constitution and what decisions have been put forth, it passes muster, but I'm not on the Supreme Court.
Right, but more on that. We're just getting started. We'll pick back up with our discussion after a check on our forecast.
Invest in Kids is a $7.5 million project to build a new Boys and Girls Club in South Manatee County. I'm Caleb Grimes, and I was a club kid. It's where I learned important life lessons: leadership, integrity, responsibility, and baseball. Thousands of kids attend the Boys and Girls Clubs, and after years of use, their club is slowly falling apart. Help us invest in kids. Make your donation today.
Sarasota Magazine and PNC Wealth Management present the Best of Sarasota Soiree at Selby Gardens on April 24th.
It's an evening to sip, savor, and celebrate Sarasota Manatee's best of winners.
This year will be full of Warhol-inspired surprises, entertainment, and a tribute to those representing the best in our community.
Come join ABC7 for all the fun.
Get your tickets today at sarasotamagazine.com.
Our community has its struggles. The fact is, people have less than they did just a few years ago, and sadly, the need becomes more profound every day. Season of Sharing provides funds to help individuals and families in need, ensuring they will not end up homeless and without a roof over their heads. Together, providing a helping hand and making a difference. Season of Sharing. Give today at cfsarasota.org.
In the real estate business, trust is important. It's not just about money, it's a place where we live and create memories. Buying a home is such a big investment, you want to find the right one. You don't want to be sold a home, you want someone you can trust to help you find the right home. I am proud to work at an agency where these values matter. I would love to be your realtor. I am Chandra Boone, and I'm a proud realtor at SWC Properties.
I heard about the Dotoli Cancer Center through friends of mine who had been treated here and were very pleased with the treatment.
If there is prostate cancer, we at the Dotoli Cancer Center will find it using 3D color flow Doppler ultrasound.
And that helped precisely identify where my cancer was. I can tell you that you will not find a finer, more professional team of clinicians anywhere in the world.
Our discussion of dark money and legislation to uncover who donates to politicians continues in just a moment. But right now, let's get a check on our weather with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan.
Thanks, Haley. The sea breeze finally running into the east coast wind. And this photo sent in from Tanya Clements Freeman from Northport. And she says something brewing? No, not really. If we see anything at all, it'll be a brief shower. But there's just so much dry air around that we're not going to see anything too significant. You might get a sprinkle here and there, but that would be about it. It will clear out of here by 9 o'clock, and we'll look for generally fair skies by 11. Temperatures staying pretty warm. The Van Wezel webcam showing fairly calm conditions out there in the Sarasota Bay. Lots of sunshine throughout the morning. This is going to be a typical forecast. We'll see sunny skies in the morning, early afternoon, and then some clouds rolling in late in the day. Along with it, a 20% chance for an isolated shower to pop up here and there. High fire danger will exist across the peninsula. The Panhandle not as much because they've had much more rainfall over the winter and now early spring. And now the warm Easter temperatures expected to be into the mid-80s, most areas upper 80s well inland. And that's a direct result of a large area of high pressure. Now, typically what happens is systems move from the west to the east and kind of bump this high out of here. This one just isn't strong enough. The high pressure will win out and keep this well to our west, so we are not anticipating any kind of big rain event here for the foreseeable future. A few brief showers are not out of the question, though. We see that activity south of Marco Island pushing off to the west. 1 or 2 lone showers will be popping up here, as I mentioned, into parts of Sarasota and Manatee counties, but not enough to really help things out. Dew point is at 55, and the winds are out of the west-northwest. That's that sea breeze that has kicked in at 14 miles an hour, keeping things rather comfortable near the coast. And as far as the high goes, another warm day. Yesterday was 87, today 85, and our normal high at 80 degrees, 89 the record, and this morning's low was pretty close to normal at 60 degrees. The yearly rainfall total, just a paltry 3.23 inches of rain. That's all we've had thus far this year. Well, this is the RPM forecast model. It's a very reliable model showing some showers every once in a while moving off toward the west coast. That's in the afternoon, and then moving off into the Gulf. In the morning hours, we'll see similar conditions on Thursday. Sunny through the morning, a few clouds in the afternoon, pushing off to the west. Big storms in Houston earlier, and some light showers into southern Ohio and parts of Kentucky and Tennessee. So for boaters, winds will start off at 5 to 10 knots out of the northeast, switching to the east later in the afternoon up to 10 to 15 knots. There'll be a moderate chop on the bays and in the waters. The water temperature now at 75 degrees. UV index will be 10. And a low tide upcoming 8:34, sunset in just a few minutes. And the forecast for the 7-day looks like this, gradually getting warmer right on in through Easter weekend. Haley will be right back with the guests just after this. Stick around.
Sarasota Magazine and PNC Wealth Management present the Best of Sarasota soiree at Selby Gardens on April 24th.
It's an evening to sip, savor, and celebrate Sarasota Manatee's best of winners.
This year will be full of Warhol-inspired surprises, entertainment, and a tribute to those representing the best in our community.
Come join ABC7 for all the fun.
Get your tickets today at SarasotaMagazine.com.
Our community has its struggles. The fact is, people have less than they did just a few years ago, and sadly, the need becomes more profound every day. Season of Sharing provides funds to help individuals and families in need, ensuring they will not end up homeless and without a roof over their heads. Together, providing a helping hand and making a difference. Season of Sharing. Give today at cfsarasota.org.
Are you considering joint replacement or revision surgery? Consider this. Dr. Edward Stolarski has performed thousands of successful joint replacement procedures and trained surgeons from all over the world. Using advanced technologies, Dr. Stolarski is able to perform some of the most complex surgeries.
I wish I knew about Dr. Stolarski much sooner.
After the surgery, I don't have any pain. It's like I've got a 16-year-old hip.
My name's Ed Stolarski. What I really do is I give people back their life.
Schedule a consultation today.
Credit card debt can ruin your life. If you owe $10,000 and minimum payments are siphoning away your paycheck each month, you can get debt-free in less time than you think.
I've paid $800 a month for the past 3 years and haven't changed the balance on my credit card.
Get debt-free now has a program to reduce your debt, stop the harassing phone calls, avoid financial ruin, and settle for less than you owe.
I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders.
You're pre-approved for our special hardship program if you owe $10,000 or more. Upon payment of your new lower balance, your debt will finally shrink until you are debt-free.
My family no longer has 30 years of payments ahead of us at 20% interest.
There's no fees until you see results. So call now, make one monthly program payment, and free up your cash. Resolve your debt.
Call 800-685-6422, 800-685-6422.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we are discussing the use of dark money in Florida. New legislation could reveal who is donating to politicians when those funds are transferred. Our guests tonight are ABC7 political analyst Frank Alcock and State Representative Joe Gruters of Sarasota. He is sponsoring the bill to help uncover dark money donors. Now, Joe, can you explain? There's some of us out here, including me, who is a little confused about how these funds, these donations get transferred. So explain that.
Okay, in the most simplest form, what I'll try to explain is, okay, Frank wants to eventually help you out. So he's going to donate money, but he doesn't want anybody to know. So he's going to donate money to a PC called Sarasota's for a Better Future. And then that money is then going to go, the PCA, that money will then be transferred to PCB, let's say Citizens for a Better Florida. And let's say there's 50 different PCs or PACs that are all now funneling money to that second PC. So let's say there's $5 million there. Now that PC will then create a brand new PC that says Frank Alcock is the best, right? And so that PC then gets funded, let's say by $50,000 out of the $5 million here. And once that's transferred, it's hard to tell out of that $5 million where this $50,000 is from. So everybody, when you trace it back, when this PC then attacks you, all of a sudden you go back to this PC and they say, well, you could transfer back to this PC, and then you transfer back to this big PC, and let's say there's 500 donors there, and you go to donor A and say, well, you funded the attack to help me or hurt me, and all of a sudden they're going to say, and I've seen it happen in my own eyes, everybody goes like this, it wasn't me. And so what happens is, so what my bill essentially does, instead of going from A to B to C, we're eliminating these transfers. So if Frank gives money to this first PC, that money is going to have to spend it directly on the candidate to help or hurt. And that's why you'll eliminate the dark money, because you can't essentially launder that money. It's going to be exposed, and by all means, people should spend as much money as they possibly want on to either help or hurt. But all we're trying to do is we're trying to create the transparency that the public deserves, because certainly everybody says they want a fair, open, transparent system. Certainly this bill probably doesn't go far enough, but this bill is at least a start, so we can at least tell people that yes, we're trying to have a fair and open system that's accessible to everybody, and everybody knows what's going on.
And Frank, you'll say, yes, this bill isn't going to go far enough because there are different forms of dark money. So explain how that works.
Technically, this isn't necessarily dark money. It's a laundering scheme that takes money that is contributed openly with a particular donor, and it just washes it. It just moves it around through a shell game, like Joe described, that at the end of the day, nobody is accountable for some of the most malicious speech that we see out in the political realm, and that lack of accountability, I think, is very corrosive to our political system. There are other ways. There are other types of organizations that are allowed to spend money in politics and electioneering, 501c4s. There's certain requirements, but they don't have to disclose their donors. So there are other vehicles that would maintain anonymity for people that are funding it, but that is, I think, it's more direct and it's overt. I'm fine with eliminating one of 2 or 3 vehicles that are used for limiting transparency and limiting accountability. So I don't think it's an elixir that'll fix everything, but I think it will help.
And Joe, you would like to probably fix more of these issues, but it's not viable to try to pass 10 fixes at one time.
Well, that's exactly right. The original bill that I sent into bill drafting had 10 different items that I thought we could fix, that I thought would help clean up the system. And in negotiations and discussions with my Senate sponsor, Debbie Mayfield, and others, we figured that the best route to be able to pass this bill is to limit the scope and just try to take care of this first issue, which is, of course, is a big one. And obviously there's a lot of pushback because there's a lot of people that make a lot of money as a result of this, and there's a lot of people that win and lose campaigns as a result of it. And my guess is that stuff will still go on, but at the end of the day, we want to encourage people to be active in the process. And like I said, if you want to spend, if Walmart wants to come give me $500,000 to help me win my next race, then so be it. As long as I have, as long as the public has the ability to look at that sign and say, okay, well, this guy's obviously bought and paid for by Walmart. Right. And if I accept the money, then so be it, and move on. But it's I want good government. We want good elected officials. I think this is the first step that we could take to ensure that we have the best people representing us on all levels.
And Frank, do you think you would see a reduction in some of the nasty campaign techniques? Do you think that this would do anything to cut back on that?
Not immediately. There has to be a cost, but I think this might force it'll limit the amount, I think, of anonymous speech. I don't think all of it, some of the nastiest stuff that we see, anonymity just comes with it, even though it might not be the most important. So I think you'll see for a while some of the mailers be as nasty as they've been in the past. However, the lines of accountability will be clear. And for me, I think that's what matters at the end of the day. It's not trying to limit folks' speech, but rather I want to hold them accountable for what they say in the political realm.
I think we'll certainly have an impact on the nastiness of these races, because here's the deal. If you know that the ad's being paid for by Frank to destroy you, certainly you're going to go back to Frank and say, yeah, Frank, why are you doing that? Why are you being so tough on me? There are repercussions. The reason why people...
That's what I thought before this election cycle. I really don't know if there
You think people are willing to go nasty even with their name
this
right on
was such
it.
a nasty election cycle. Not as much locally, I mean, but just nationally and throughout. It just was so nasty, and I'm not sure if I've seen the repercussions for that.
Right.
Eventually there will be. People don't want to be associated with negative ads. They don't want to be the ones saying that I'm the one bashing you. So as a result, I think by shining Florida sunshine on it, I think you're cleaning up a lot of these races. And, you know, I've told a lot of people that this issue is not about me. You know, I won my race. I'm in the second most conservative district in the state. I have 8 years where I probably don't have to have another race. So this is not about me. This is about cleaning up the system on all levels for everybody. Really, both parties benefit, because really, the Democrats take advantage of this, and the Republicans and Democrats, leaders of both parties, different special interests on both sides. And what we're trying to do is just clean it up. Show who you are. Be proud of what you put out. At the end of the day, that's my line.
And have some of your colleagues or friends come up to you and kind of, why do you have to do this? Why do you have to mess with our campaign system? Maybe someone who thinks they could benefit from this. Have you been getting that response?
I'm going to let it out of committee.
Yeah,
that's all.
Well,
right.
Well, I've heard from all different sides. Some people have come up to me on both sides of the aisle and said, Joe, thank you for running this bill. This is great. I can't believe what I went through to get to this position now. Right. And other people have come up to me and said, listen, you're only going to hurt us in terms of Republicans, because we're the ones who benefit the most out of the ability to raise and spend. But it's not. This is not about party. It's not about special interests. This is just about cleaning it up and making sure that the public, because every day people talk about having an open and transparent system. They want transparency in everything. But here you go. The most important thing is to determine who wins and loses. We don't have basic transparency, except for I mean, like I said, it's all a cloak and dagger system that's designed to conceal where money is coming from. And if people really want transparency, they're going to get on board this bill. And I know what's going to happen. I've heard people talk. People are excited about it. I think the momentum is growing. I think there's been a lot of press about this issue over the last couple of months. People are tired of the nastiness in campaigns. People are tired of not knowing where money is coming from. So as a result, I think that we will prevail. It may not be in the next 4 weeks, but I'm fully expecting it soon.
If it gets stifled, why don't you bring this up to the Constitution Revision Commission? Because
that's a good idea, but we'll talk more about that in a second, because I'm going to have to go to break here. We'll come right back. We will have tonight's final thoughts from our guests. Plus, what our viewers are saying about our top story tonight, that school bus crash on Proctor Road.
ABC7 News at 7 weeknights.
Attention blood clot filter patients.
Surgically implanted blood clot filters are potentially life-threatening. Some filters are prone to breaking, resulting in pieces of the filter moving through the body and causing internal bleeding. If you had surgery to implant a blood clot filter, you may be entitled to a cash award, even if you haven't suffered side effects yet. Call the Gold Shield Group now, 888-747-5291, to see if you qualify for a cash award, 888-747-5291.
They're coming from Tampa, Fort Myers, even Orlando. They're coming from everywhere for the Sarasota Ford Promise. Our promise means a new car you'll love. If not, return it for one you do. At Sarasota Ford, we promise live market pricing. We monitor national pricing on our entire inventory, so you get the best deal. In fact, we guarantee it. Bring us any competitor's ad, and we'll beat it by at least $1,000. That's why they're coming from everywhere to Sarasota Ford, where 41 meets 301. SarasotaFord.com.
Are you Goodwill?
Yes, because when I donate
or shop at Goodwill, I'm creating a job.
I am Goodwill, yeah.
A unique celebration of a distinctive cultural gem in Sarasota. La Musica, the annual international festival of chamber music, with renowned musicians from 4 continents. April 3rd through April 12th at the Sarasota Opera House and at Sainer Pavilion. Buy your tickets now.
Is your old garage door stuck or broken? Would a new one give you a lift? Let Precision Door Overhead Garage Door Service of Sarasota come to the rescue with prompt and affordable repair service. Replacement doors come with an array of styles and colors, and they are rated to meet and exceed Florida standards. From estimates to installation, your satisfaction is our priority. If you're not 100% satisfied with any product, service, or installation, we will make it right, because Precision Door Service is a name you can trust.
Welcome back. Does the public deserve to know who is paying when funds are transferred between political action committees, electioneering organizations, and candidates running for office? If so, what impact would it have on dark money? Our guests are joining us for their final thoughts, and I want Frank to respond to when we were getting cut off here earlier before the commercial. Frank, you mentioned that this could be an issue that could be brought up to the Constitutional Review Committee.
The vast majority of our rules with respect to campaign finance come in the form of statutes. However, in other states, there are some best practices out there, that things that might fit in the Constitution. Given the fact that Joe's so passionate about this, I would just urge him to consider, if in fact it gets quashed by leadership, maybe he might consider making some suggestions to our Constitution Revision Commission. There might be things that they can do.
And they're meeting, conveniently, they're meeting this year, right now.
They're meeting right now.
Right now, yeah.
I think most people that are non-elected officials would probably support this common sense type movement. And I think it's a great idea to take it in front of the CRC to hopefully that maybe they will take it up. But here's the deal. Whether they take it up or we pass on it this year, I'm going to bring this bill up every year until we get it passed. And so I'm confident that we're going to make it happen. And it's a good bill for Florida. So
if it doesn't, because we are kind of late in the game now, if it doesn't pass this session, what's your confidence level that it will pass maybe next or the one after?
I'm going to make it my signature piece of legislation that I carry over the next 8 years. I'm confident that we'll get it passed at some point.
Okay, well, thank you all for joining us. And before we go, we do want to share what some of our viewers are saying about our lead story tonight, a school bus crash in Sarasota. One student remains in the hospital. The bus was taking special needs students to Oak Park School when a driver turned out in front of the bus, sending the bus swerving into a power pole. Here's what some of you had to say. Mark Sadaka writes, people need to cede to school buses and never take chances because of being in a hurry. Ned Burke writes, I still don't know why seatbelts are not used in school buses. Hope the kids are okay. And Sue Hanscom writes, everyone is in a big hurry to go nowhere. Prayers for the bus driver, the kids, and their families. I hope they charge the driver of the red car with a felony for putting those children in serious danger. So what do you think about money in politics? Should we know which money is being shifted to which political action committee? Join the conversation by visiting our Facebook page at facebook.com/news@7. And you can watch tonight's discussion or any of the past discussions on demand. They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. A big thank you to our guests for being here tonight. Frank Alcock is a political analyst for ABC7 News, and Joe Gruters represents Sarasota in the Florida House. He is sponsoring, which I think we've made that clear, the legislation to help identify dark money donors. When we return, we'll have a final look at your weather. Plus, another endangered Florida panther gone. Less than 250 remain in the wild. Find out what their biggest threat is in our primetime headlines.
You only have one life. Are you gambling with it? 1 in 3 adults have high blood pressure. Not knowing your numbers could cause you to lose, big time. Luckily, you can turn the odds in your favor by getting your blood pressure checked today. Don't leave your health to chance. Learn more at heart.org/HPB.
I'm calling in regards about my mother, and I'm here, and I just want to thank you because it saved my mother's life yesterday, and I'd like to know the names of the people that came in and saved her. It's a wonderful thing. Thank you.
With Life Alert, one touch of a button can get you help fast.
For a free Life Alert brochure, call 1-800-962-4112. That's 1-800-962-4112. Call now, 1-800-962-4112.
This is an important medical announcement. Xarelto and Pradaxa have been linked to uncontrollable bleeding and even death. If you've been prescribed one of these drugs and have experienced these dangerous side effects, you may be entitled to substantial compensation. Studies show that Pradaxa can cause more heart attacks than warfarin, and other countries have already issued safety warnings against this drug. Call now for a free assessment of your case and potential money damages. The call is confidential, there's no cost, and you may be eligible. Juries have awarded millions of dollars to Pradaxa victims, and thousands of Xarelto victims are filing their legal cases. Call the Drug Watch hotline. If you or a loved one used Xarelto or Pradaxa and experienced uncontrollable bleeding, brain hemorrhage, or even death, you must call now.
Call 800-793-6055. 800-793-6055.
Your primetime headlines are coming up in just a moment, but first let's get a final check on our forecast from Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan.
Thanks, Haley. We have some clouds that are developing along the sea breeze front. They look rather ominous, but we are not going to see any significant rainfall. If we see anything at all, it'll be a few sprinkles. You can see those clouds overhead getting ready for a beautiful sunset here just a few minutes from now, and it looks as though we will see skies clear out of here by 9 o'clock, and that will allow temperatures to drop down to around 60 degrees. I mentioned a few showers. They're still starting to develop mainly to our south, but there's 1 or 2 lone showers developing now into eastern portions of Sarasota County. That activity is so small, really hard to detect by the radar right now, but you can see once in a while a little bit of return showing up there through Arcadia, but as I mentioned, a sprinkler or two possible as temperature right now 76 degrees, comfortable out there. And the dew point has dropped down into the mid-50s, barometer 3011, and that is holding steady. The high today did manage to get to 85 degrees, a little bit warmer well inland east of I-75 in the upper 80s there. Zip on the rainfall, and we could use a little bit of rain, but it doesn't appear we're going to get any. This is the forecast model showing a little bit of a shower activity tomorrow afternoon, not much, 20%. Basically sunny skies throughout the morning, a little bit of cloudiness in the afternoon. Similar conditions on Thursday as that high pressure ridge blocks anything from entering into the weather picture that's too significant. Right now we will see this area right here kind of dissipate as it heads off into the western portion of the Gulf of Mexico. But it did bring some heavy rainfall into Houston earlier. That is now dying down. And over the northeast, Toronto getting some rain and some showers down into Pennsylvania, spreading off towards southern Ohio, and a couple of systems now, one making its way onshore into California, another one just waiting in the wings, expected to move on in the next couple of days into California, Washington, and Oregon. So it keeps going there as far as the rain goes. Temperatures cooler in Chicago and into Minneapolis and Detroit, much warmer in the nation's capital all the way down into Atlanta. It's 78, 74 now in Dallas. For boating conditions tomorrow, we'll start off with a northeast wind at 5 to 10 knots, and then the winds will pick up to 10 to 15 knots in the afternoon and evening. Seas will be running right around 2 feet, and a moderate chop out there. The water temperature is 75. Beaches will see a high of 80 degrees tomorrow, and the UV index will be at 10, and that's fairly high. So Look out for the sunshine tomorrow. Where I put on a bunch of sunscreen if you're going to the area beaches. Low tide at 8:34. That's and high tide will be at 2:12. Another low tide at 8:06, and sunset at 7:55. So just in a few minutes from now, mostly fair, seasonal tonight. 62 for your low. Tomorrow, partly cloudy, a slight chance for a late afternoon shower. 84 the high, northeast winds 5 to 10. And the extended forecast looks good. Sunshine, plenty of it right through the weekend and beyond. Temperatures warming about 5 degrees above average. Haley will be back with primetime headlines right after this.
Sarasota Magazine and PNC Wealth Management present the Best of Sarasota Soiree at Selby Gardens on April 24th.
It's an evening to sip, savor, and celebrate Sarasota Manatee's Best of Winners.
This year will be full of Warhol-inspired surprises, entertainment, and a tribute to those representing the best in our community.
Come join ABC7 for all the fun.
Get your tickets today at sarasotamagazine.com.
Attention, this is an important message for anyone who has taken Xarelto or Pradaxa. If you or a loved one took the blood thinner medication Xarelto or Pradaxa and was then hospitalized for internal bleeding, you may be entitled to significant compensation. Xarelto and Pradaxa have been linked to serious, even fatal internal bleeding. If you suffered a stroke, heart attack, or serious internal bleeding, or if a loved one died after taking Xarelto or Pradaxa, call us now. Our network of attorneys have years of experience fighting the big pharmaceutical companies and is ready to fight for you. Potential claims are being reviewed for users of Xarelto or Pradaxa who have suffered severe bleeding or hemorrhaging, stroke, or even death. Our network of experienced attorneys is ready to fight for you. You won't pay a thing unless your case is settled. Call today for a free confidential consultation. Don't fight this alone.
Please call 800-928-6604. That is 800-928-6604.
The official salon of ABC7.
Whether a family member needs a little extra help around the house, assistance recovering from a hospital stay, or someone to check in on them throughout the week, Right at Home's in-home care is the answer. Your loved one deserves the right care, and now we need caregivers to help give the right care for the right reasons, the right way. At Right at Home, we're one of the only private home health agencies in this area with the opportunity to earn paid time off. If you're someone who loves helping people, take a look at our website and click on Jobs to join our team today.
Now to your primetime headlines. Tensions are growing between the U.S. and Russia over the conflict in Syria. Today, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson delivering an ultimatum to Russia: either stand by the Assad regime or join the United States in ending the violence. ABC's Janae Norman is in Washington with the latest.
A war of words brewing between the United States and Russia.
Russia has really aligned itself with the Assad regime, the Iranians, and Hezbollah. We want to create a future for Syria that is stable and secure. And so Russia can be a part of that future.
Secretary of State Rex Tillerson drawing a line in the sand over Russia's support of Syria, but Russian President Vladimir Putin standing firm. In a news conference, saying the accusations against the Assad regime over a chemical weapons attack resemble claims made against Iraq before the U.S. invasion in 2003. Meanwhile, the White House is accusing Russia of trying to cover up what happened. And Press Secretary Sean Spicer saying Russia should consider which side it's on.
You know, you had someone as despicable as Hitler who didn't even sink to using chemical weapons.
A comment that's drawn swift blowback and also raising eyebrows in apparent White House confirmation that President Trump's daughter Ivanka influenced last week's decision to launch 59 Tomahawk missiles.
That being said, there's no question that Ivanka and others weighed into him as you know.
The White House hasn't come out and said directly whether they believe Russia was aware of the chemical weapons. The press secretary only saying there isn't a consensus within the intelligence community. Janae Norman, ABC News, Washington.
A follow-up now on the mounting public pressure against United Airlines after a video showing a 69-year-old man being forcibly removed from his flight because of an overbooking by the airline. United's CEO now apologizing, writing, quote, "We are going to fix what's broken so this never happens again." The video has now been seen more than 100 million times on one social media platform in China alone. The man is of Chinese descent. Passengers on that flight stunned.
I could not believe what I was seeing or hearing. I was in shock.
Yesterday, United CEO said in an initial statement the passenger was, quote, disruptive and belligerent. An elementary school in San Bernardino, California remains closed today after a murder-suicide in a special needs classroom. Police say the shooter opened fire in the classroom of his estranged wife, Karen Elaine Smith, yesterday, killing her and an 8-year-old student. He then fatally shot himself. A 9-year-old student was wounded in the shooting. He or she remains in the hospital tonight. Police say the shooter had a history of weapons and domestic violence charges. Here in Florida, the state attorney for Orlando is filing 2 lawsuits against Governor Scott in just the latest turn of dispute over the death penalty. Aramis Ayala is filing the suits in federal court and with the Florida Supreme Court. Governor Scott removed Ayala from 22 cases, including the high-profile case of alleged cop killer Markeith Lloyd. Scott transferred the cases to another state attorney after Ayala announced she would not seek the death penalty. Ayala alleges Scott is violating her equal protection and due process rights.
Every citizen deserves a state attorney that's going to fully prosecute cases. I'm going to continue to review cases and make sure that we always think about the victim.
Ayala was elected as state attorney for Orange and Osceola counties in November. She is Florida's first black elected state attorney. President Trump plans to nominate a Florida lawyer who investigated Trump University to be the top legal official for the U.S. Education Department. As a top aide to Florida's Attorney General Pam Bondi, Carlos Muniz defended his office's decision not to seek legal action against Trump University. Today, Trump announced his intent to nominate him to be general legal counsel to Education Secretary Betsy DeVos. Emails show in 2013, Muniz was involved in discussions about fraud complaints from Trump U students. Bondi personally solicited a $25,000 contribution from Trump as her office was considering whether to take on the Trump U case. A Florida panther cub is dead after an apparent vehicle strike. Florida Fish and Wildlife reports the 1-year-old female was found near a rural road in Hendry County. 10 panthers have died this year. 7 were struck by drivers. Approximately 230 panthers remain in the wild. The species is endangered. That's all the time we have for this evening. I'm Haley Wilgus. We'll see you back here at 11.